Welcome everybody. I'm Patrizia Morgante, the USG Communication Officer, and today I'm very happy to have a special guest with us. That is our father, John Dardis. John, you can unmute your microphone just to greet us.
Hello, everybody. Wherever you are in the world, it's great to be with you by the miracle of technology.
We are both in Rome, and John is the communication responsible coordinator for the Jesuit at the global level, at the international level, but he has also other hats. And one of these one is, I don't know which is the right way to say it, but I think you are like a consultant for the discernment for the General Superior, Arturo Sosa. So he's an expert in discernment. This is why we invited him today. But I am very happy also to have here Sister Yolanda Kafka. She's our USG president. And she said that she's here to learn, but perhaps she can tell us something as Superior General about the digital world later on. The micro. We can. Yes, you're right. Therese, could you please make Sister Yolanda co-host so she can open her microphone? I'm sorry. Look at the power we have with the technology. We can take out the world. Therese? Therese, could you please make Sister Yolanda co-host, please?
Oh, okay, it's working, okay. So good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm here to learn. In this special time, we are more, I think, obliged to learn how to discern through the telematic means without losing the spirit of discernment, of course. And this will be the opportunity to listen, to share. And we are glad that everybody here is connecting from all over the world, because it means that the interest is very big and will be increasing while we learn. Because while we learn, we increase our curiosity and also the openness to new insights. So thank you for organizing this, and welcome to everyone from the side of UISG board and staff.
Thank you, Sister Yolanda. And this is a second meeting of a series of 3 webinars on communication and religious life. In the first one, we enjoyed talking about TikTok, and was a very interesting experience. You can find the recording in our YouTube channel in the playlist Communication is Mission. And this is the second appointment, and we will talk about digital discernment. And the third meeting will be in December about the relationship with press and religious life, how to make an efficient interview, a good interview with the press. So we will be very concrete and to offer you some technical skills. Okay, let's start. And I want to share with you, where does this webinar come from? So I will share my screen right now. I don't know here we go. Okay, this webinar comes from a request from different Superior General trying to understand how to balance the life, how to balance the religious, regular, communitarian life and the digital world, and the needs to be always online, on live, as a request of the world, of our global society, and also to respond to the needs of the world. We will start with a contemplative time. It's not a prayer. It's a manifesto that we took from an Italian association who is trying to work on anti-hate speech in the social networks. So how to build up an ecological communication. So I invited one of the participants, Sister Claudette, to read slowly the text. It's in English. The translators will translate for you. So I invite you to listen profoundly this invitation for an ecological communication. Trying to listen what are the words, the expressions that struck you most. Sister Claudette? Sister Claudette, your microphone is off, I think. Sorry.
Thank you. The manifesto of non-hostile communication. Virtual is real. On the internet, I only write or say what I would dare say in person. You are what you communicate. The words I choose define who I am. They represent me. Words shape the way you think. I take all the time I need to express my views in the best possible way. Listen before you speak. No one can always be right, nor am I. I listen with an honest and open-minded attitude. Words are bridges. I choose words to understand, make myself understood, and get close to others. Words have consequences. I am aware that what I say or write can have consequences, small or serious. Share with care. I share texts and images only after I have read, assessed, and understood them. Ideas can be discussed. People must be respected. Those whose views and opinions differ from mine are not enemies to be destroyed. An insult is not an argument. I accept no offensive and aggressive words, even if they support my point of view. Silence says something too. When it's better to keep quiet, I do.
Thank you very much, Sister Claudette. This is a very intense manifesto. We will publish on our website the different languages. I invite you to print it out, share it with your community, because this is not just for the digital world. It might work also for our interpersonal relationships. What can we learn from this manifesto? Digital world, social networks are not neutral. They take our time to have a communication that is attentive. It's not automatic. We cannot be on the digital world as we were in our dining room. We have to take care of our communication because we have to respect our vows. Each vow has to do with many elements that we will find today, that we will talk about today. I think the difficulty to manage what is public and what is private. What are the boundaries? Okay. You can take more time to reflect on it. And now we start to talk about the digital discernment that we will develop in 3 different sessions. The first one will be myself just sharing with you some criteria coming from a no-religious world, a no-religious surrounding, and starting from the book of Cal Newport, Digital Minimalism. So I will show you some elements that he highlights and some criteria that he gives to keep our autonomy in the digital world. Then we will give the floor to Father John. He will help us as an expert to go more in depth about the discernment in our today's world, connected with the social media and the social network. At the end of the third session will be Sister Therese Rad, that you saw her handling and managing the technical side. She's part of the USG Communication Office, and she will help us to understand some criteria to recognize fake news, fast news, or deep fake. We will talk more about that. So we'll start now with some inputs from our friend Cal Newport. But before, I would like to offer you some elements about the society we live in. We live in a society full of inputs, full of information, full of data. There is not a problem of lack of information. We have too much information, too much data. So we are called to find the way at the personal level, at the communitarian level, because we are religious sisters, how to select, how to discern, how to decide, to be autonomous, to keep the lead of our life in our hands. The categories that we have been using so far are not helpful, or at least not all of them. We need new categories to understand and interpret the posture that we have, the attitude that we need to live this world right now. Because even though we don't have any profile in the social network, we live in the digital world. So we are overwhelmed. We receive so many stress, receiving a lot of inputs. We live in a world of noise. Actually, it exists already a sort of digital discernment that is developed by engineering, that is back to all the platforms and mainly in the social networks. This digital discernment tool is the algorithm. Which is an algorithm? The algorithm is a mathematical process to reduce the complexity. It's a process to go from the complexity to a very simple operation. To simplify, it's a process to reach then a very simple goal. So the algorithm works on our behalf because the algorithm selected already what to offer to us according with the information that we give to the digital world when we surf in internet. So there is a sort of digital identity, digital profile of each of us. I know that you fight, as I do, with the cookies when we go on Google or when we go in the website. Because we are affected, we suffered of a common illness that we call cognitive laziness. We try to go, oh, I accept, I don't want to see the settings, it's too boring. This is a bias. So this is a habit that prevents us from choosing what we are giving to the rest of the world, which kind of information or data we are giving to them. So we need to recuperate our autonomy. The problem is that to recuperate this autonomy, we have to know this world. Sometimes we don't know. I see so much ingenuity in the sisters surfing in internet. This is dangerous. So we cannot be naive in the digital world. We live in a society data-driven, machine-driven. We are giving a lot of power to machines because they process so many data in just a few seconds that we are not able to process so many data. So you see, which is the capacity of being autonomous here. So let's see what our friend is. A very young guy, is a, which is the right word, computer scientist in the United States. And he started to reflect on this digital minimalism as a possibility to recuperate an autonomy in living in the digital world. So through this kind of philosophy, we recuperate an autonomy and to ask questions about our each decision we take in the digital world. And the key question is, this platform is giving me a benefit, or is taking much more of what is giving back to me in terms of benefit. So let's see what he says. I think it's very interesting. Digital minimalists are all around us. They are the calm, happy people who can hold long conversations without furtive glances at their phones. I guess that during this talk, you are going to choose and to see your telephone. I have two of them here, but I cannot do it because I'm talking now. They can get lost in a good book, a woodworking project, or a leisurely morning run. They can have fun with friends and family without the obsessive urge to document the experience. How many times it happens to us that we cannot enjoy a meeting or something because we have to make a selfie or we have to take a photo? It's important to take a photo and selfie. I'm not saying differently, but the risk is that we lose the moment. They stay informed about the news of the day, but don't feel overwhelmed by it. They do not experience fear of missing out. This is FOMO. This is a sort of pathology, fear of missing out. So the fear that I'm losing something, I'm losing information, because having information is a sort of power now. So if I miss something, so if I miss, for instance, who is the winner of the United States election, I lose the possibility. We don't know because nobody knows yet about the USA election. So I'm sorry, John, I didn't want to say anything, but it's impossible. So they don't experience fear of missing out because they already know which activities provide them with meaning and satisfaction. His work comes from the idea that people now, we suffer much more of anxiety, stress, by having too many inputs. Even religious sisters find difficult to have a silent place, to have a silent surrounding. It's not just a lack of noises. For him, the solitude is not the absence of people. It's when our mind does not depend on the minds of other people, when we do not suffer the pressure of the minds of other people. This is so profound. I find it so beautiful. I can be in solitude even though now I'm with you, because I do not allow your minds to push my mind. Very interesting. So it's a sort of to build up healthy boundaries. Let's see what this guy offers to us. He suggests that we have to be able to organize our personal digital ecosystem. So my ecosystem, Patrizia ecosystem, is made by my social media, my relationship on WhatsApp, whatever has to do with communication and relationship. So I have to be able to build it in a way that does not affect me, but benefits me. We are not going to use the smartphones anymore as we used before. We use them much more for apps than to phone. How many times we take our telephone in our hands each day? It's interesting if you count it. He says that there are two effects by the social network that prevent us from having a good boundary. The first effect is what he calls irregular positive reinforcement. I will give you an example in Facebook. I publish something. After 2 minutes, I go to see if someone put a like. Half an hour, nothing happened. 45 minutes, I have 10 likes. Then it's silence, but I'm sure that this positive reinforcement will return. So I wait for the positive reinforcement. It's sort of a drug. And this effect is connected with the other one, the need that we have to be accepted by our social tribe, our social community. And Facebook and other social networks know that. And the algorithm works in order to create social clusters. He calls the economy of this digital world the economy of attention. They need our attention and our time for two reasons. For entertainment, for leisure, it's important to enjoy in the social network. Otherwise, we won't go there. So attention, time, entertainment. So minimalism is a sort of philosophy of the use of digital. It's an invitation to be in contact with our real desires and needs. Why I'm opening this profile on TikTok or whatever? Do I need it? Which kind of goals, aims I have? Which kind of benefit? Is it necessary? Is it important? He continues to give us three principles. The first one is confusion has a big human cost. We have a lot of sources of information. There is a chaos, there is a lot of confusion. Sometimes I receive a message, I don't know if I receive it in a messenger or in WhatsApp or whatever. So it's a sort of a continuous communication relationship where it's very difficult to lead the process. We are managed by all this information. The second point, he said, that we need to optimize. So optimization is important. And optimization has to do with the possibility to ask questions before doing something. The third one is choosing, discerning is gratifying. We do not feel that someone is leading us. We have the impression that we are centered. We are not losing ourselves following different things. There are very simple tools that we can use. Sometimes I use the alarm on my mobile to start and finish a task, because in the internet it's very easy to lose the aim, to lose where we are. So we start many tasks at the same time because we are bombarding by a lot of stimulation. Oh, sorry. Just to conclude this part, I would like to share with you some suggestions that he offered to the digital minimalist. First is to prepare a protocol, a personal protocol, how to manage my social relationships in the digital world. Like a sort of rules that we give to ourselves, knowing our limits, knowing our difficulties to make boundaries. Then list the criteria to be in a social media. Do that before you start a new profile. Make aware of your actions. Organize a Sabbath from the smartphone. It might be a Sunday, it might be a Saturday. I hear comments also from superior generals say, oh, I cannot stop WhatsApp even during my retreat. This obstacle is here. We can do it. We are used to answer right away. So let's try to organize, according with our style, our rhythm of life, one day off, smartphone free. Create space of silence where you leave your microphone, your smartphone in your room or in another place. Make a space between reaction and action. We are used to react. Let's learn to act more with much more awareness, and much better is be proactive. You see that there is a space between reaction and action and proaction. We become more aware. Sometimes we answer right away. We might be angry, we might be frustrated, and we damage the relationship. He suggested a much more strict process, and I think this is very easy for religious life, because I'm not able, I'm not a religious sister, but you are able to live a regular life. So he's suggesting a digital decluttering. 30 days time of break using the ICT, using the not essential information and communication technologies. This is the first step. For 30 days, you can just silence your ICT. Not essential. So if you consider after process of discernment that you need WhatsApp for your work, just choose one of them and give you criteria to use it. Second step, during the break, engage your creativity to start activity and hobbies. In this time of digital detox, you can start new activities using creativity, but just doing nothing. Just stay without the burden of performing something. We are used to perform always. I'm sorry to say that, but I noticed that also in the religious life. If we do not do something, we are not something. There's something. You should teach us how to live more profoundly in this world. Third steps of the digital decluttering. After the break, introduce a minimum number of apps. Not all of them, just some of them, leave it, because you experience that are not necessary. Wow. I will open a little bit the chat if you want to share something. I think I spoke too much, but before giving the floor to John, I would like to give you the possibility to just comment something in the chat. Otherwise, it's just one direction. We are a good group, so it's difficult to give you the flow, but we will see later in a QA session. So how do you feel? Do you feel more bombarded or more balanced? Do you have the impression to lose your balance in this world? Or you are good at taking the lead of your life, of your focusing, of your concentration, of your presence? Okay. Feel free to react in the chat. I will leave it on for some minutes more before giving the floor to John. The book is in English, but I have it in Italian, so it's been translated into Italian. I don't know in Spanish. And it's really easy to read, and it's very concrete. Very, very concrete. I do not agree with all the book, but it's interesting. Okay. John, are you ready to keep this woman up?
I'm ready and waiting.
The floor yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Oops. Stop sharing. I need sound. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. So nice to be with you all. And thanks, Patricia, for that. I'm not sure I can follow that. There's so much in it. A short few words about myself. I worked, my background is in refugee work and also in communications. And I'll just tell you a story. I remember being back in Ireland once, about maybe, I forget, 10 years ago. I'm originally from Dublin, Ireland. And it was a time of scandals and the media were full of scandals and everything was, the church was terrible. And it had such an impact on me, I remember feeling bad about myself and about the church. I see some Irish people there in the group, so you know what I'm talking about. But then I went the next day to Sarajevo in Bosnia. It was just after the war there. And I landed and I was still kind of depressed about the church and even about faith. And somebody there told me about a sister, a wonderful religious sister, who was doing amazing work. And within a day, I was just amazed at the outreach of this sister and of other religious in the city, what they were doing for the gospel. So we are very affected by what we read, what we see, and you can end up, we need to nourish ourselves and each other about the mission. Our mission is to go to the whole world and proclaim the good news. And if that is our mission, we have to get involved in the media and in social media, even with all the ambiguities. If our mission is to go to the whole world and to proclaim the good news, we have to be involved in the media. Sometimes I hear people saying, oh, the media is so ambiguous, or Facebook is so terrible, and their criticism is actually often true. But if our mission is to go out to the whole world and to bring hope and faith and love, we have to be somehow involved in the media, in the social media, in all the media, in some way, in a discerning way. If that's the mission, we need to be involved in the media. I used to get so frustrated with endless Jesuit discussions about should we be involved in the media, and it's very difficult. And no, we need to be involved, and we choose how to be involved. Patricia, am I going too fast, too slow? Can my microphone be heard?
I think it's just perfect.
Perfect, okay, thank you. So some aspects of our cultures today, let me move this panel down out of the way. There we go. Just to give a brief overview of some aspects that really make this whole media thing difficult. One is this increasing narrative of division. You see Mr. Trump on the left and Mr. Maduro from Venezuela on the right. Just this narrative of division, of fear, And we don't want to be part of that narrative. We have a different story. This is the narrative of power, and we want the narrative of Jesus. Secularism, all these isms, these ideologies, secularism, fascism, extreme nationalism, clericalism, individualism, consumerism, all these isms that take away people's dignity. This is an advertisement from I think it's a bus, probably in Britain. There's probably no God, so stop worrying, enjoy your life. This very aggressive secularism. Religion is a thing of the past. Get real, get modern. So this is part of our context, and we need to somehow get involved, or else we just we leave the whole field to these isms that are so against the gospel. So I'm giving the other side of the coin to Patrizia. She's saying, on a personal level, take care of yourself, detoxify. Don't get swept away by all the demands. I'm saying, for the apostolic side of things, we need to be involved. We need to choose our involvement. We should not withdraw. The dominant messages of many of our advertisings today, blessed are the rich, blessed are the successful. You're not a real woman unless you have that very expensive bottle of, is it Gucci cologne that she's carrying? You're not a real man unless you have that kind of hairstyle and that shirt that probably costs a fortune. And you see all these ads for men's aftershave, and the people never look so happy, actually. They're never smiling. That guy is not smiling, nor is she. And these kind of narratives, people are living in the midst of these narratives. So it's not just a message, it's actually a whole narrative about how you live your life, how you should live your life. All these shoulds, dominant messages. Eternity is now an aftershave. Amazing. You can buy eternity. So what narrative is that constructing for young people? They might go to Mass on Sunday, but they might not. But they hear the priest talking about eternity. They probably think, oh yeah, I bought that last week. But as well as these narratives of the rich and the powerful, we also know it's also a world of fantastic love and tenderness. This is a picture I took in India when I was there last year in a rural school, quite a poor school. Look at those smiles. Totally different from the guys in the advertisements. Beautiful smiles, the trust, the openness. The guy on the right looks like he could be a real problem in class. He looks mischievous. So a world of tenderness and love. And that's the world we're fighting to keep. And it is a struggle, it is a fight. Beauty. That's a lake near Rome. Beauty is so redeeming, redemptive, and liberating, and calming. that's what so many of us in religious life, so many Christians need to keep in touch with. So there is hope in the midst of this difficult digital world. There is hope. I think again, I think I need a lesson in PowerPoint or whatever. But we have to search for this hope and to build our narrative, the narrative of freedom, liberation. Our gospel is about liberation. I was talking to a friend of mine once, he's a psychologist in Brussels, and he asked me, he said, explain the spiritual exercises to me. And I fell into the usual Jesuit trap of giving a whole theory of the exercises and consolation and discernment and desolation and the movements of spirits. And he said, wait a minute, John, the exercises, surely it's about liberation. I said, yeah, liberation. Our gospel narrative frees people from these isms that I talked about earlier, these ideologies. And we're called to be, you see the guy there on the right, kind of in England, it's Sherlock Holmes. I don't know what the character would be in Colombia or in Jerusalem or where some of you are coming from. We're asked to be detectives of grace. Where is God working in the world? Let's look for God. Detectives of grace. Fantastic phrase. And you know, so many things in the media are looking for disgrace, the negative, what's going wrong, the scandal. And of course the scandal is there. But we are looking for God and for signs of God in the world. Like those three little kids that I showed you, the Indian picture. We are detectives of grace. Ah, there's God at work. Ah, there's God at work. And yes, there are the detectives of disgrace around. What's wrong with the world? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? Yeah, it's true. I'm not perfect. Lots of things wrong with me. Lots of things wrong with the church. From the Pope down to everybody else. Of course, nobody's perfect. But detectives of grace. Michael Warren, an American theologian, I think a layperson, had this great question. Who is really imagining your life for you? I often, when I work with groups of young people, I say to them, yeah, is it Mr. Gucci or Calvin Klein or Lionel Messi, the footballer? Really imagining your life for you, painting your future for you. When I was a kid growing up in Ireland, the Irish church was very strict, too strict at the time. But I remember Dominic Savio was a big saint in our school. And how Dominic Savio, who was Italian, got his picture over to Ireland, a small little Irish village, I can't really explain. But it had a big impact on me, Dominic Savio, and helped me imagine my life as a generous life. And you know, an interesting thing, we find on Facebook and on Twitter, when we put a sign up or a notice about the Jesuit saints, they are among the most popular things. The saints. And in fact, one of our staff, Luca, is starting a little series for Facebook, little 1-minute things on the saints. I told him we should call it Saints Alive. But yeah, help people. People are looking for models that are redeeming and liberating. So when we get into media, as Patricia said, there's lots of risks, especially with social media. superficiality risk. We bounce along the surface, no analysis. That we get caught in fake debates where truth is not really respected, where our ego gets involved. I've seen some Facebook accounts where it's my travel to Finland, my trip to Rome, my visit to Caracas. There's something missing there. And I see religious, like a kind of travelogue. Impoverished imagination. It's easier to let somebody else imagine my future. And if you're helping people discern their vocation, and I mean this in the broad sense, because everybody has a vocation, a purpose in life, young people, vocations. God wants them to do something with their life. They're unique, they're talented, they make a difference. They need to imagine a future with great freedom. Democracy in danger, the coarseness of political dialogue, we've seen that in the US, and young people are made to feel small and not important. You could make a whole list there yourselves. So there are risks. This is interesting about death. I'll read a piece of it. Social media often reproduce the worst cultural failings about death. That is, banalities that help those on the periphery of a tragedy to rationalize what happened, but obscure the uncomfortable, disorderly reality of loss. You have the rest yourself in the PowerPoint. Death, part of our lives, and often it's pushed aside. So is there a gospel or a creative or even a human way through these dangers? And I'm going to give you 4 or 5 points, and I think I've got to stop. So we should see the challenge of social media and media in the context of our mission. Helping people imagine this new reality, the kingdom of God. That nun in Sarajevo, amazing. The Jesuits there ran a soup kitchen during the war. And not because people really needed soup, but the guy in charge said, you know, we're going to run this soup kitchen, not just for Catholics, but also for Muslims and Orthodox, because they'd be standing in line together. He helped them imagine a new Sarajevo, a new Bosnia, a kingdom of God, a gospel reality. And that was, we can do this by our deeds, by our words, by our love, our faith, our hope. Simple standards, we already had this from Patrizia. There's that fantastic charter she read at the start. Avoiding offensive language or stupid debates, going deeper, telling stories, I'll come back to that. The power of words, Karl Rahner says there are words which isolate and there are words which render something translucent to the infinity. Wonderful phrase, a little complicated. Translucent to the infinity. Poetry. You hear some great poets who can make reality translucent. Like seashells, in which can be heard the sound of the ocean of infinity. Imagination, rediscovering our faculty of possibility. The poet Emily Dickinson said, the possible's slow fuse is lit by imagination. The German theologian Dorothy Sölle, what do prayer and poetry have in common? They connect us with our hopes. Now, if you look at your websites or your articles or your social media, you can ask, okay, are we helping people imagine? Or are we telling them what to do? Helping people imagine. That's what Jesus did. William Lynch said, imagination these days is traumatized and addictive. But he also said it's a source of healing. Those of you who know the spiritual exercises know the importance of imagination for St. Ignatius Loyola. Our faith can liberate our imagination. Paul Ricoeur, when we imagine our possibilities, we become prophets. Fantastic. So I'm giving a whole new take, if you like, on social media here, that we can take charge. We can put content in that follows our rules, even with all the limits that we know. We can take charge. We can help to bring about redemption and liberation. Those of you who know the exercises know about the two standards meditation. The meditation of the enemy of our human nature is all about fear and hate, and how we can get trapped by that. Again, you see the discourse in the United States these days. And there's Jesus. It's one of the mosaics here in Rome, the John of God brothers. You can see Jesus healing the blind man with the John of God brother looking on. So the two standards. How to be a prophet in all of this? We have to see with new eyes. And that means exactly what Patricia said, taking time to pray, to really see, detoxifying. Great word. Imagine new possibilities. Yes, point out the disgrace, the wrong, but also paint a picture and nourish the longing. Like the prophet Isaiah, they were all in exile, and he said, you know, it's going to be different. But he didn't give a theory. He said there'll be valleys raised up and mountains laid low. You'll come back rejoicing. There'll be water in the desert. So many deserts today. And the church is great at words. How good are we at images? We're developing a whole series of short narrative films here in the office with a young Polish filmmaker. 1-minute films, 2-minute films, imagination. So the invitation from social media is to write a new narrative, the gospel narrative, to be in there writing a new narrative. And I'm going to show you a short 3-minute video. Have I got time, Patricia? A 3-minute video? Tell stories. The invitation is to tell stories like Jesus did. People are tired of theory. Jesus is asked, who is my neighbor? And he didn't say, well, it's an existential question of our transcendental something. He said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. He told a story. And 2,000 years later, we're still telling that story. He was asked about forgiveness, the prodigal son. Telling stories is the way of being involved in media today. Here's a story. I hope it works.
at the speed of light. The engine's cold, but the fire's bright. There's miles and miles to go tonight. Hold on tight. There are things we cannot know. How far it is we have to go. Found a space we need to grow. Until we go. There will always come a time. You probably thought I lost my mind. When the light obscures the view, dreamer searches for a clue. Looks to find something that's true. What to do. Miles and miles to go tonight. Hold on tight. Hold on tight. Hold on tight.
Okay, so I hope that worked. Patricia, did that work okay? That video?
Yes, it was very moving.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing, I'm trying to move out of it now. The amazing thing is that the children of this age are more shrewd than are the people of the light. Luke chapter 16. They are selling paper with that advertisement. I show this to young people and sometimes to parents. It can be seen from so many ways. I ask them, what's that about? And some people say, oh, it's about discernment. The young guy choosing his future. He's attracted by the bright lights, the big city, but it's not the real thing for him. Then he finds his real vocation. And others say it's about father, son. Others say, where's the mother? But 3 minutes. And so we're saying, can we, for the gospel, and I'm saying to you, can you, for the gospel, tell little stories like that? Move beyond words. Follow Jesus, the good shepherd, the prodigal son, the good Samaritan, the woman with the lost coin. Closing prayer, again, one of the people in my office led our prayer 2 weeks ago for this. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Help us recognize the evil latent in a communication that does not build communion. Help us to remove the venom from our judgments. Help us to speak about others as our brothers and sisters. You are faithful and trustworthy. May our words be seeds of goodness for the world. Where there is shouting, let us practice listening. Where there's confusion, let us inspire harmony, ambiguity, clarity, exclusion, solidarity. Where there is sensationalism, let us use sobriety. Where there's superficiality, let us raise real questions. Where there's prejudice, let us awaken trust. Where there is hostility, let us bring respect. Where there is falsehood, let us bring truth. Back to you, Patricia, for the rest of the moderation.
Thank you very much, John. I think that really you help us to give a sense, a profound sense of our presence in the digital world. So I would like to suggest now I open again the chat, but I invite you now to take a moment of silence. I will put some music to help. Just try to absorb what we have listened so far. Remember the difference between react and act. So let's take a time to breathe and to absorb. Then we will continue. I leave the chat open. It's up to you, okay? Thank you for your comments. I think for the first time I find much more comments than questions. I like it. I mean, you are participating, you are contributing to this common learning. There are some questions about how to help young people or how to help them to find this new narrative. I want
My experience is that,
thank you, John.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you.
Is that, I mean, I work with a team of amazing young people, and they tell me that they have great stories themselves in their lives of struggling to find God, struggling to find themselves, struggling to find hope. And the language of story, it just is so powerful. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. We're working a lot on St. Ignatius these days. It's the anniversary of his conversion next year. It's a story. He saw himself in this small way as he's going to be rich and famous and attractive to women. And then the cannonball, he got injured. His dream was shattered and his story got bigger. He allowed God to dream a new dream. And so many of your founders and foundresses had the same experience. Their life was going along and then something happened. And God broke in and their life got bigger and richer. And I bet each of you listening, if you think about it, you can say, yeah, my story So many little points where God broke in. I was in a crisis, I was in a depression, then this happened. I couldn't pray, then this happened. They're little stories, and we have to learn to tell them, because that's being a detective of grace.
Thank you, John. I want just to add that perhaps we have to change our attitude. Perhaps we have to let them help us to understand their narrative. We have this attitude always to teach something, to give something. Let's learn to receive something. Let's learn to move from our mental setup and to learn something about a different perspective that they can bring us.
And also tell stories about difficult things. I remember a bishop, he was being asked about sexual abuse. And it was a very aggressive interview. Why did this happen? How come that happened? The church is a mess. And he was very calm. He said, last Sunday, I was in my office and I had a pile of these cases beside me. I had to go through them. And after an hour of reading, I threw them on the floor in disgust and shame. And that was what people remembered. He told the story. He didn't get defensive about the church, or he didn't say, how dare you exaggerate this issue, or he told a story, a real story. It wasn't a fake story, but he let himself be vulnerable. And I think often the church, we seem to have it all together, or we think we should have it all together. And we don't. At least I don't. And my most powerful stories are when I was weak in my own life and had to change.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you, John, for helping us to be more focused, actually. And this is one of the tools that we can keep in religious life to live in this world. So now I'm very happy to give the floor to Sister Teresa, Therese Rad. Therese, can you show up? I will change now into Italian. Therese, la cerchiamo.
Sì, ci sono.
Ci sei? Ti puoi autospot?
Here I am. Can you please show yourself, Therese? I'm just looking how to put my video in spotlight. Here I am. Can you please introduce yourself before I give you the floor? Hello, everyone. I am Sister Therese, Sister of Charity. I work at the Communication Office of USG, where I work together with Patrizia, and also in the field of communication in my own congregation as well. So every day I am committed to this, and I am really in the field of communication. So yes, I would like to say that you come from Lebanon, and you help us. Also, you are younger than us, and you help us, for example, how you write in Arabic in another direction than usual. So this is another gift that we have. And today we asked Therese to help us to understand how we can face this in this sense, how to understand the criteria to understand which are the fake news. So just clarification. The so-called fake news are really likely, they look like reality actually. So we have to implement everything that Therese is going to tell us in order to identify fake news. Fake news are very different from other two phenomena. The fast news are not fake news. but we are interpreting them according to how fast they are present. So perhaps we are interpreting them in a different way compared to the intention of who produced this fast new. So perhaps even in our life, we are publishing perhaps the news on our congregation, and where we are very fastly reading, they can be interpreted differently. So there is another narrative compared to what we actually intended to have. So another phenomenon is the deep fake. That means that is deeply something deeply fake, that is structured in a way to damage somebody or to create a situation that actually does not exist. So I'm not saying this is happening in a political election above all, but I now want to give the floor to Teres so that she can tell us more. So, first of all, I will be talking about some technical aspects, elements that perhaps you can consider in order not to fall in front of this fake news, especially for those news that we are receiving every day. And for example, we were speaking about discernment, because we are people, human beings, who love to tell stories, but even when we don't have something, we want to share anyway. So if we don't want to fall in this risk to share at any cost all the time, I would like to introduce some elements that perhaps can be helpful.
Allora, parto dalla...
So
sono 10 elementi che
these
metto
are
in
10 elements, sorry, that I am sharing with you.
importanti.
These are not in order in according to importance, but
Analisi personale.
I will leave them to you according to your own analysis and view. When we receive a new, we have to pay attention to the word of mouth. So, I mean, how this new reach me? If this news was always in a kind of circle, in a word of mouth, so there are many people between this news is reaching me. So I should ask myself, is it right? Or there is something that was added that shouldn't be there? So means that it perhaps is not important, even if it was given to me. So we should also then be able to look beyond the title, because when we see the title in the news, they can be attractive. They are written in a way with capital letters or exclamation points, and they are very captivating. So they might call for our attention. So, if we want to know if this new from the title is also worth it, before even entering the article so that is promoted more, we should pay attention to this. Then identify the source of information. So you have 3 questions. So who is the author? On which website it was shared? And when? So doesn't mean that every story, every article is written for a right cause. So you should look for the name of the author through browser. You can type the name of the author in order to double check the bio of the author. So on which site, on which website, because now with the new technology, there are many websites, news, they have to show if they are satirical website, if they are blogs. So also pay attention to the quality of the website. And also the date of publication, because if it is outdated news. If it is 2 years, it was published 2 years ago, it's not important and shouldn't be shared.
Fake news,
Then
notizie false,
fake news,
vogliono a ogni prezzo farci
for example,
vedere.
they want to be
Allora c'è
shared at all
un'insistenza.
costs. So
Se tu
there
non
is
la
a real
condividi della tua
insistence.
vita quella notizia
If
fra
you
un
don't
giorno,
share it, it might
non
disappear
dividi
in a day. So
allora
please
questa
share it, share it. So this way of insisting should lead us to
vera o no.
to be warned. Perhaps it's not true information.
Notizie false giocano
And
con le
fake
nostre
news also are
emozioni,
playing with our
con i
emotions,
messaggi che ci
and they are
spaventano,
transmitting
e
messages that are
vogliamo
scaring,
questa
and they are
attenzione fosse
playing
di un bambino
with
che
this
piange, un
attention. For
bambino
example,
che
there is a child
una
who is
persona
crying,
che è stata
or is
bruciata, le
hungry,
televisioni
or
massacrate
people were burned,
dai non tutte
church were
religioni.
damaged
Allora
by some
tutte
groups.
queste
So
emozioni.
they are playing on these emotions.
Un elemento importante che
An
non andrebbe
important
tenuto in
element that perhaps we
considerazione
do
sui
not
social
take into account,
soprattutto,
specifically when we are on social
commenti,
media, is reading comments.
quando per esempio una
Because,
notizia è
for
venuta
example,
da un
when there
sito
is news,
passano per senza
um, there are
leggerla.
many people who are reading, and
Sono delle
sometimes
persone che
they
cercano
are
prima di
uh,
noi
trying to
magari
look up
questa notizia è stata
for a source, and they say, oh,
che
it was
questa notizia
published a
in
few
questo
years ago,
paese, allora
or
leggila un po' di
this is
più,
not true, the
commenti
source
su
is not true. So
Facebook, su
pay
Twitter, su
attention to the
Instagram.
comments on
Si accetta
Facebook,
anche
Instagram,
prima
and
di farla
Twitter.
vedere, prima di
This might
farla
be even
notare,
more helpful
per sapere che questa
before
notizia
we
falsa o vera.
go on and we share this new.
Cerchiamo a
So
tornare
then
alla fonte delle
we should
informazioni e
go
questo
back
è
to the
molto
source of
tecnico.
information, and this is
Prendendo
purely technical.
una
So we,
foto
for
soprattutto
example, if we have a
e
picture,
cercare questa foto
so we
nel
have
motore
to
di
look
ricerca
up for this picture
per sapere se questa foto è
through
quella che
browser,
abbiamo
Google,
visto
for
su
example, to see if
un
it's
video
connected,
anche,
and
perché
also a
così
video
vediamo di più.
if it's connected to another source. So what is the source?
Cercare altre fonti
And also
anche di
looking
questa
for
notizia
other similar sources
e
on the
qua
same news.
importante anche
And
analizzare
here it is
questo
also
non
essential
vuol
to
dire che
analyze, because doesn't mean
un
that,
giornale importante
for
che
example, an
condivide questa
important
notizia
newspaper
che
shared
tu
this
racconti
news,
è
but it
vero.
doesn't mean that
Anche
it is
ci
a
sono
true
giornali
information
importanti
there.
che
Um,
usano
there are
purtroppo questa
many
metodologia
important
di
newspapers who are using this
disinformazione
kind of methodology
un
as well
po'
of how to say,
non
like
vere.
fake information.
E
So
chiedere a un specialista se abbiamo
we can
bisogno
also
di
call
una notizia
somebody who is an
proprio
expert,
per questo.
as
Soprattutto questi
the
giorni
Pope
abbiamo
said
tante
that,
cose che parlano
as we saw in these days, the
abbiamo
Pope
delle
said,
referenze ben precise per andarci
so
a
we have
cercare
specific sources that we can double check if really the Pope said something or the Bishop said another thing.
E l'ultimo punto
And
che
then
è
last
novità
point
forse,
that
su
perhaps is
WhatsApp
something new
o
is
su
that
Facebook ci
on
sono
WhatsApp, on
diversi
Facebook,
control
there are
fake news.
policies against fake news.
WhatsApp, se vuoi cercare
And
le
if
polisi
you are
WhatsApp
going to
contro
look up for
notizie
policies
false,
against
troverai
fake news, you will
una
find
lista
a list
precisa
that is
su come
very specific on
difendersi
how you
contro
can
queste
defend
notizie e
yourselves
non
in
duplicare.
face of this fake
E
news.
finisco con
And so I would
un
like to end with a
scusi la
plugin.
traduzione,
Apologies
che
for the
è
typo
un
on
plugin che
the
si
slide,
chiama
but is a
NewsGuard,
typo
un
that
plugin
is
che
called
potete anche
NewsGuard.
aggiungere sui vostri browser, sui
NewsGuard
vostri
can
motori di
be added
ricerca.
also on the browser
Quando voi mettete il
when
link della
you
notizia,
are putting on the link of the
capire
news on this
quanti
plugin NewsGuard,
è
you
veramente
can
questo
understand
articolo,
uh,
questa notizia è
more about
giusta.
this article, if it's
Trump ha
right or not,
vinto, Trump non
if
ha
Trump
vinto.
won or he
Allora
didn't win.
divergono le cose
So, for
una
example,
dall'altra
uh,
e
then
diventano
you can
false le
double
cose.
check through this
Da
plugin that I
cercare,
just
verificare.
shared with you.
Teresa, scusami, per noi che
Yes,
siamo un
apologies, but could you please explain to us what is a plugin? It is an extension that can be added to the browser, and you can, for example, type NewsGuard, and you can add a kind of extension to an application that is linked to the browser in an automatic way and can be added to the browser where you were looking for this news.
Grazie Teresa, veramente molto chiara, molto precisa. Ti
Thank you,
chiedono
Therese.
nell'alchat se puoi
Very,
scrivere il
very
nome del plugin
helpful.
NewsGuard, se lo puoi scrivere gentilmente.
Could you please
I browser
type
sono
the name?
Chrome, qui Opera,
Browser is also Firefox, Google, sorry, Firefox, Safari, and others, perhaps.
Bene, mamma mia,
And I will type in chat the name. So thank you.
John, io rimango
John,
sull'italiano adesso.
I'm staying on the Italian challenge now.
C'è una domanda che è stata un po'
There is
ripetuta anche
a
se
question that was often repeated, even if I believe it's not the topic of today, is bullying.
Non so se vuoi dire qualcosa.
Would you like to say something concerning bullying? But I don't think it's today's topic, so perhaps we can have a special, particular reflection.
Meglio forse trattarlo
So
in un'altra
perhaps
situazione,
we can talk about this in another webinar,
sono vulnerabili a questo.
especially
Sì, nella chat dicevo anche che alcune
for the young
persone
people, they are vulnerable.
questioni religiose
And for example, we say many sisters are victims of bullying as well. So yes. So it is necessary to be wise and aware and pay attention in every case to be involved in this digital world, as there are also risks in the digital world. But through the tips of experts, for example, we can move ahead, and I think that these topics should be discussed. We couldn't talk about everything today, but yes, yeah, we should go towards the closure of the event, and also for our time of attention, because it is very hard to stay always on. And now I will open your microphone too if you want to share something. But in any case, to synthesize, everything will be available on YouTube in English, Spanish, and Italian. And we will also upload the PowerPoint presentation on our website, where you will find everything. And you can always send us a message. Perhaps we might need more time to answer, but we
Bene,
will
grazie
try.
tantissime a
So
tutti.
thank you very much, everyone. And I prepared
sondaggio che adesso vi
a
lancio.
survey
Se avete
that
delle
now you will
potete
see. If you want, you can answer
velocissimo.
in a very fast way. You should have it in front of you right now.
Così poi vediamo insieme anche i
And
risultati.
so then we can also look at the result immediately.
A scrivere nella chat.
So you can at the same time write in the chat and also turn on your microphone. Greeting, John. Thank you also our translators, Claudia and Ilaria, who were with us, and Sister Yolanda was with us. And thank you everyone for your presence. We see now the survey. We will leave a few seconds, and then we will look at the results in a very transparent way. So please go ahead and